beyond the skies. You and I, we're breaking bounds on Baobab.
We love to hear from you. Everyone, you can just use the chat box and tell us where you're joining us from. I can see Serge from Nairobi. Thank you so much for joining us. We are glad to see you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for Gisele's event and all the panelists that are actually here. A few housekeeping rules is please keep yourself muted and then let the panelists have this conversation. At the end of their session, we will definitely require you to, if you've got any questions, to ask these questions. And if you have any questions as they speak, leave them in chat. And we'll be monitoring the chat, pick these particular questions, and then Gisele will be able to ask them to the panelists at the end of the event. So for now, Gisele, you can take over. And thank you so much for hosting us.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. We are glad to have you. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. So I officially welcoming you to the event of today, titled From the Conformity to Authenticity, Dealing with Social Pressures and Expectations. So I am really glad that you all made it to this event, and I hope it's gonna be very engaging. So as we're just waiting for the others, we can get started. I am Gisele Mjamaria from Rwanda, a Mastercard Foundation Scholar alumni for Rwanda. I'm also a certified health professional and I'm Armland Residence Fellow. So I'm really glad that you all join us today. For this event, we are having amazing panelists that are going to share with us their experience, their insights, and link to the event title that we have. We are having three amazing panelists. We are having Nadia, we are having Latjor, we are having Aisha. So before we get started, I would love to give them time so that they can say hi to everyone, introduce a bit for themselves. So please, dear panelists, if you can hear me, I can start from Nadia. You can go ahead and say hi to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gisele, and thank you for inviting me to this space. It's such a pleasure to be here and be part of this conversation. Hello, everyone. As Gisele said, my name is Nadia, Nadia Tucker. I am a clinical social worker by profession, but I currently work with Solid Minds, which is a mental health outpatient clinic based in Kigali, Rwanda. And I currently work as a senior clinical program manager. So thank you so much for being here for this very important conversation.
Thank you so much, Nadia. We are glad to have you. We pass the mic to Latjor. Please, can you go ahead and say hi, introduce yourself?
Hi, greeting. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is a great privilege to have you today in this culture. So I'm Latjor Waladak. Actually, mostly people used to call me Steven because my name sometimes is very difficult to pronounce. Just call me Steven, actually. Yeah, so I'll be happy for that. I'm currently Mastercard Foundation Scholar at African Leadership University, where I'm pursuing Bachelor of Software Engineering. Professionally, I'm running actually non-profit organization that is accelerating sustainable development goal, specifically providing higher quality education access to underprivileged South Sudanese youth. I believe that they deserve to be elevated because in this world everyone is having opportunity to make sure that your dream is going to be fulfilled. Yeah, so you'll get to know me later. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Latjor. We are glad to have you. So over to you, Aisha. Can you go ahead and say hi, introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Aisha Nalmasi. I'm a Mastercard at Foundation Scholar Alumna from Makerere University, currently a programs and communication.
Thank you so much, Aisha. We are glad to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. So welcome everyone again. See that we are having amazing speakers. They're going to share with us different experience and an insight. So in regard to today's topic. So as Dorothy said, so please, if you have any question, if you have any comment, feel free to use the chat box. Our panelists, we have more time to respond to more questions as possible if time allows. So you can feel free to use the chat box to just give your comments and then the question. Thank you so much. So before we dive into our today's topic, as said, it's almost about from conformity to authenticity. So how do we deal with the social pressures and expectations? So this is like a very wide topic, and I hope you're gonna enjoying it. We are going to hear from our panelists' experience. But before we dive in personally, we are in this fast-paced world, specifically as a young people, we are almost experiencing pressures, expectations, sometimes from our family, sometimes from the academic background, sometimes even in the local village. So how do we deal with all those? Are we managing to almost break all those challenges, all those expectations? So how do we find ourselves in the face of those pressures? Like personally for me, as an alumni, because I graduated from the university last year, so I have personally experienced this pressure in my university environment because it was very, very, very overwhelming. Like sometimes you mean that people really want, they have the shape that you really want to be like. They have like everything that they have put there. They want you to be like that. Sometimes not possible because everyone has their own story. So I personally struggled to almost reflecting on those, but I'm glad that finally I ended up being able to manage that. And so that the reason why I choose this topic to bring this live, we can also learn from the others' experience. We can also learn from the professional insight like Nadia, so that we are not going to be always overwhelmed by the social expectation and sometimes pressures from the outside. So that's all about that. I just want to start from the Latjor. Can you hear me, Latjor?
Yeah, sure.
So I would love to start from you. Currently you are still a student at the university, so I just want to bring your experience to this discussion so that we can learn the people learn from you, and you can also have insight that you can share with us. So, and we're really glad to hear from you. I have a question for you. You know that sometimes the university life comes with a mix of academic, social, and sometimes the family expectations. I would love to know, have you ever felt pressured to meet these expectations, and how has impacted your sense of self?
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for a wonderful question. Actually, this university life sometimes is too complicated because especially university is like like the time for exploration and growth. But sometimes also it brings like some heavy burden of expectation that each and everyone never expect to happen in life. Like we face a lot of academic pressure, to achieve high grade, especially each and every person that being like, setting a goal, saying that after I complete this bachelor degree or master degree, so the person is trying, having a mission to transition higher. So everyone is like is struggling, to achieve like good grade, and also trying to make sure that that person also should be, social fit, based on the specific locations. And also while the family pressure is too much, especially for the people that are still breadwinners to their respective family. I remember when I first joined ALU as the first year in university student, so I feel like I had to jungle with many responsibility, which are also trying to keep everyone happy because everyone is like having unique lifestyle. So I always found myself working hard, to make sure that my family dream, that had been invested on me is going to come into reality. But most of the time, I got myself, I've lost some insight about my passion because university life is like, it's too complicated sometimes. It's come with a lot of expectation that even you get yourself having like big imagination, and trying to unleash the potential that you have it. So sometimes it took like a long time for you to take reflection to understand about all this expectation, because if you're not carefully, then you will be, outsmarted by the life of the university, because sometimes they were influenced by what society deems successfully. So I realized that being true to myself sometimes is very important. It is like, if not more, then meeting others' expectation also should be better. So other university student, I've been actually always focusing on my life, my goal, what I need to achieve first, because I try to interconnect getting like good grades and building myself professionally at the professional level, and also at the same time achieving to have the access with high grade and family pressure. Sometimes it is very too complicated, but I always like feel confident, and I always focus on the goal, because uh, keeping pressing toward your goal, sometimes it make all those pressure, or to be at least not having too much pressure on you, But if you are not like consistent, if you're moving from this side and not this side, so sometimes it's too complicated. But if you are oriented, focusing on your mission, sometimes all those pressure, you will see them like, they are just ordinary things, Yeah, that's what I've been practicing, in my life. And I encourage like my fellow students, to take ownership in their life, make sure that they step back from the pressure, evaluate your own desire and be courageous enough to pursue what truly happy will make you in the future. Because if you do it, then exactly you're gonna make it through the help of support, through the help of friends and mentors that are going to transform your life. Yeah, that's how I've been experiencing that one. Yeah, thank you so much.
Wow, wow. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. So I love regardless amount of expectation, amount of experience, amount of the pressure that you are faced at the universities. I love the way that you try to be confident to navigate all that. So thank you so much for highlighting that. Um, so now we are coming to you, to Aisha. Can you hear me? Aisha, if you can hear me, please play out. Hello, Aisha, can you hear me? I think
Maybe network problem.
an issue of internet. So I can go for you, Nadia, please. I think you can hear me well.
Yes, I can hear you, Gisele.
Okay, so here I have a question for you. Why do you think so many people feel need to conform to social norms, and what does this have on their mental well-being?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question, Gisele. And I think the need to conform to social norms, yes, is very present in young people, but I think it's present in people across the lifespan and across different developmental stages. It's a human thing to want to feel a sense of belonging. And there are many, many social norms that are good, that are actually good. So I want to be careful not to use a blanket term of social norms as if social norms are a bad thing. holding the door open for someone who's coming behind you is a good thing. It's courteous. Helping an old lady cross the street or care for elders and care for young children is our social norms across many different societies, and those are good things. And by that same token, there are lots of norms in social spaces and in academic spaces that actually are very good standards. They're not bad in and of themselves. I think when you start to think about when social norms begin to impact mental health in a way that is not healthy, is when those norms begin to be unrealistic, and they feel very misaligned with the individual's values. I think this is where you begin to think about, kind of to go back to your question, you begin to think about the impact on mental health. And I think when it begins to impact your mental health in a negative way, then I think this is the place where we begin to stop and reimagine or explore, if these social norms really are the best for us to follow. But I think the idea and the behind social norms in and of itself is not a bad thing. I think you just have to be able to recognize when it begins to shift into a space that becomes unhealthy for the individual. I think you're muted, Gisele.
I was saying thank you so much for highlighting that. So I love the way that we should be aware, realizing when the social norms start to become very realistic, so when they started to impacting our mental health. So we should almost be, when you are led to open the door for social norms, we should be aware that how we're going to ensure that this one is affecting my mental health. Thank you so much for highlighting that. I can go to Aisha. If Aisha, please, I think now we can hear us if you're still around. Hello, Aisha.
Yes, I can hear. Can you hear me very well?
Yes, I can hear.
Hello. Yes, you can go on.
Okay, thank you so much. Here I have a question for you. I think currently you are an alumni, so I've graduated from the university. So my question that I have for you is that moving from the university to the workforce can sometimes come with a new set of the pressures and expectations. What the challenge have you faced in this transition, especially in terms of conforming workplace culture and expectation?
Thank you so much, Giselle. Can you hear me very well?
Yes,
Hello.
I can
Yes,
hear
thank
you.
you for that question. I would like to respond in a way that I feel like I'm fortunate enough to have had an opportunity to work before even I graduated. But before that, first of all, transitioning from university then to workplace is not something that is easy because it comes with a lot of anxiety. It comes with a lot of, thoughts and a lot of things that are always ready. Me, when I graduated, I think I'm one of the lucky ones because when I joined, it was easier for me because I got my first role, which taught me that it gave me an exposure and allowed me to adapt quickly in a way that I was able to develop professional confidence and working like in a dynamic environment. For example, my first role was working with Baobab. Then the second role gave me a much richer experience where I worked with the scholars program. It's kind of dynamic environment. A lot of things are there. Then for now, from my current workspace, that is CH Network, this has told me to be able to own my own values. Like it's not easy to adapt because now I've been here for just 1 month, but I'm learning a lot. It's more of learning the organization culture, like, but still, you have to, you have to live by your values. You have to be able to step, learn, be proactive. So it's not so easy, but we are able to navigate that. I think I can, at least it can speak to the question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Aisha. I love the way that you highlighted the importance of owning your values. So even in the face of pressure, the workforce, even in the face of the expectation, the school and your community, you need to build your own values. So you adaptation may sound like an overwhelming and sometimes not easy, but when you have your own values and you be sure to be strict on it, I think it can help you to navigate expectation at your workplace. Thank you so much for highlighting that. Um, so moving again to Latjor, hope you can hear me well. So I have another question for you. In terms to how is social media, like currently in the world of the internet. So I have that question for you in terms of the social media. So how has social media shaped your perception of what it means to be fitting? And have you ever felt pressure to present yourself in certain way online?
Uh, well, this question is very crucial for me, and it is very challenging to me. Exactly because I remember when I start my journey, for the digital platforms. So it was not like the way I am today. Because today, like there is this dispensation of life where you get yourself to just like trying, to study something new, then you take it, to mind of it, and you overuse it. But at some of the time when you'll be very familiar and professional at it, then now you will build, the better version of yourself. So we all know that social media play powerful, role in in shaping our life nowadays because we are living in the digital world. So it is like a window into the life of others, window into the life of others, whereby people are getting inside it. But however, sometimes it can be misleading, if you are not taking it professionally or if you take it in the way that can affect your personality and also your mental health, because there are a lot of issues that are connected with the social media platform. For a long time, like for the first 5 years, I feel like a lot of pressure, within me, because I was thinking that I was popular or successful based on what I saw on social media, based on the content that I usually, created, anytime I see the post, that I posted like, for the long time ago, I feel like myself, no, you're good, the way the people that are going to see this post, it will reflect, to your offline versions, so I've been, believing on that. All the time, I've been finding myself curating my social media profile to present an image that can other people that are going to read my content to admire, oh, what amazing young man, and most of time, I only post like those picture, that I first know this picture is aligned with this, with this achievement, so that it is going to attract people. The more it attract people, then the more now I would be well known, online, which is not good actually, and I came to realize that it is like, it is like lie full of lies, you are living in the life that is not, authentic, in this world. Better is like you need to be authentic, about what you need to do, what you are doing is something true, that can be verified by other people. So it become like exhausting to maintain, that, that agile presentation online, and I often feeling myself connecting with different people. Hey, how are you, Steven? You've been doing all those things. But in the real sense, like those 5 years back, before even joining university, I was like a secondary school student. I was very curious on that. I just took it like, for the content creation to have, many followers and make people to admire what I'm trying to do. But from this experience, I've learned like one of the important lessons, that I need to share with you today. Social media is often highlight, just not about documentary, because what you share is what can makes people to have thing on you. Like if you've been posting like, unethical content, then the people they are having, that kind of perception. So the more we present ourselves on the media, then it's like how the people are going to understand us, because it is what present us. So my advice to you today, my fellow student, because I'm a student like you, let us use social media professionally and also let us avoid it to overuse it because let it represent the better version of yourself. You are also your online version. Let it be also reflect to your offline version. Like if I know you digitally, and now if I come, in person, then I know, oh, this is Stephen that had been chatting, that had been reading his content. So let that trait, or let your offline person be relevant to what you've been posting. That's my advice for you because it is the only thing that make the world to trust you is what's called, sensitive. Be honest, and share the true reality about you. Social media, it is like branding ourselves. It is like a digital portfolio, digital presentation that reflect who you are, in real sense. But if you use it in other way around, then people are going to be confused, and also you yourself will be in dilemma. So let us use social media professionally, and there are some other media also that need to be. There are some professional media know how to use it, especially LinkedIn and Twitter. Those are professional things. So you need to present yourself very well, and there are some digital platforms that are just for joking. Also, don't overuse those joking style because that will give like other people more perception about you. Let us be authentic, in our offline and online version so that people are going to get us. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for highlighting that. I love the way that you talked about being unique and authentic on our social media platform. Because what we post there on those social media platforms, how the people are going to see us, how the people are going to understand us. So we should be unique and we should be authentic and be professional as we are using social media platform. Thank you so much for highlighting that. So moving to Aisha. So I think you can hear me well. I have a question for you here. Can you hear me
Yes,
well,
I can
Aish?
hear you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I have a question for you here. So also in terms of social media pressures, how do you handle the pressures of seeing your peers' career achievement and progress on social media, especially LinkedIn? And have you ever found yourself comparing your journal to their else or their peers, just comparing your journal with the others, your peers or everyone by using of social media?
So thank you so much, Giselle, for that wonderful question. For this one, it's real. It's real. If you're on LinkedIn, it's still. But at one moment, you see people's career aspiration. Me personally, I found it, but I've not compared myself to any of them. One thing I believe is all of us have a different life journey. If someone has achieved something, it's their time. So if something does not happen, like we should not move together that, okay, someone, okay, I finished school, I got this job. Oh, even me, yes, I deserve it, but if it's not yet my time, it's something that I really value. Then another thing is I do not compare myself with others because, as I already highlighted, it's it's because of those small milestone I achieve as a person. Like if maybe now I graduated, I have a job, those small things. But LinkedIn can some way or the other drive you crazy if you are this person who usually compare yourself. Because today you're going to see someone
I think I cannot hear you well, Aish.
this someone has gotten and now having an online job that pays billion, then you're also going to see these people here. So you're going to see them maybe winning a grant. Yes, these things are there, yeah, to some extent, but they should not remove that person who you are. And we should also not encourage us. We should not compare ourselves to others in a way that we should celebrate the little things we've been able to achieve. Like, have you set the goals that you were like? Have you set the goals that you have set your own goals? Were you able to achieve some of the goals you see work for me? So I don't really believe everyone has their own journey, has their own milestone. It's something that is helping me a lot. Yeah, I submit.
Okay, okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing it. That so, basically, we're almost in a world of where people they see themselves. They have posted, I have this again this job position. I'm currently working as this. So sometimes the people they feel overwhelmed because they see other people that are succeeding. But we should, as you said, we should almost remember that everyone has their own journey. So my journey is different from your journey. I'm sorry. So my journey is different from your journal. So even when you try to see what are my goals and our goals are totally different. So we should learn to celebrate our small achievement that we have achieved and keep looking forward. Maybe next time I'm going to achieve this, but comparison sometimes is really bad and sometimes ending up in making us sometimes we are feeling lost. Others they are achieving this, but for us we are not yet achieving this. But remember that my journal is different from yours. Thank you so much for sharing that, Aisha. Coming back to Nadia, I have also a question for you. It also in terms of social media pressures. The question is that with social media being a huge part of young people's lives, so what advice do you have for managing the pressures fit into the trends, online trends, and comparing themselves with their peers?
Thanks so much, Giselle, for that question. And I think much of my thinking is around some of what Aisha and Latjor have shared. I think the challenge with social media is that so much of it is unrealistic. I shared earlier that part of when social norms become a challenge is when they become unrealistic. And with social media, so much of it is really unrealistic. When you have a camera in front of you or you have a platform that's a window to the world, human beings, that's our nature, tend to want to perform and put our best foot forward. So what we realize is that most people who are recognizing that they're in this space of being seen by thousands or millions of people want to perform and they want to show their best, which is probably not reflective of their every single day life, right? Because we realize as human beings, we have ups and downs. There's no way someone, has a happy day every single day, right? But when you look at the social media posts, it's like all the most wonderful things that are happening. And now it's like everyone is an expert in everything. There's mass advice being given, whether this advice is really relevant for you or not. And then you begin to question, well, if it's not working for me, maybe there's something wrong with me. And I think what I would reiterate, which my fellow panelists have shared in different ways, is just keeping on the lens and the recognition that that a lot of this is unrealistic. A lot of it may not apply to you. Maybe it worked for that person, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So I think as we move through social media, just recognizing the very nature of being on a platform that is performative means that people aren't always their most authentic selves on there. And if they're pushing messages from a place that is not authentic, how can that land with you if you're trying to be authentic? So I think my biggest advice would be something we all probably know, which is like just recognizing that thinking twice about the messages that land with you and asking yourself how realistic those messages are. I think you're muted again, Gisele.
Gisele, you're muted.
So I was saying that thank you so much for saying that because something that also ties on the social media, like everybody is almost posting the good things. Nobody is posting the bad things. Everybody is posting having an advocacy on their good place. Because sometimes you see that it's very unrealistic because as you say that there is no way that people can have the good days a whole week from Monday to Friday and next week and next week. That's very unrealistic. So we should be aware of that and we should accept our smaller children should learn to accept ourselves and be aware that the social media sometimes is very unrealistic and we should learn to just be authentic and be ourselves. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. moving forward, I have another question to Aisha.
Yes,
So is it the
please.
same question for
I can
Aisha
hear
and Lad?
you.
So you'll be the first one to answer this question because it's the same for the Latjor.
Mm.
We are trying to see how is these pressures and expectations that we are facing is really connected to our mental well-being. So the question is that how have your social pressures, whether from the friends, family, or society, impacted your mental health? Are there like moments when you feel particularly overwhelmed by these pressures? We want to link you like if there is any impact that social pressures from the family or friends are hard on your mental well-being. Over to
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much, Giselle, once again. Yeah, social pressures to some extent affect our mental health in different ways. For example, now, okay, I'm a big sister, I'm a friend, I'm a mentor, I'm an employee somewhere. Please, this is too much. To some extent, you cannot balance everything. You reach at a time where you feel like overwhelmed. Now, like, okay, having a background in psychology and people know you as a kind person, people expect to support them every time. People like, I do not understand, like they feel like you're their savior. To some extent it's overwhelming, but how I've managed, you know how I have managed to go about this is to prioritize my mental health. If I feel like something is not working out, if I feel like I cannot support somewhere, I kindly let you know that, hey, I won't be able to support on this case. If it's family, yes, I have limits and boundaries where I be like, no, now it's time for me. I have to. This has helped me to be able to support myself, but we cannot overcome all these things, but they're still there. But how best can we manage these pressures? Setting boundaries, prioritizing your mental health, being kind to yourself. It helps you to seek balance. Yeah, I submit. I
Wait.
submit. Had you lost me?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, I submit.
Thank you so much. So I love the way that you use setting boundaries and learning to say no to some offers and some support. So sometimes people may see as like you are mentor, you are friends, you are siblings, like everyone went giving this requesting the support from you, expecting that you are going to support her or him as much as possible. And sometimes they forget you as you as person because you have other personal duties, you have other personal goals. But I love the way that you highlighted the importance of saying no to some offers and support and learning to set boundaries, be at the friends, the outside support. You should learn where to support, where to say no and where to maybe you schedule next time, maybe I'm going to do this because you feel like you are not available. There's no way to always feel overwhelmed by the outside pressures and expectations. So we should learn how to say no and set the positive boundaries for our personal well-being. Thank you so much, Aisha. I have the same question for you, Latjor, if you can hear me well. Um, the question is that, how have your social pressures, whether from the friends, family, and society, impacted your mental well-being? Are there the moment where you feel particularly overwhelmed by these pressures?
Okay, yeah, thank you. It is nice question. Like, I believe like in this like 80% of the social pressure they are coming from the from family first, then from friends, from your colleagues, then other 2% are coming outside the world, from the people that you don't know. But mostly they came within the within the own state, sexual pressure can significantly impact, our mental health, if we are not, trying to handle it, in a special way, because sometimes it often can lead to the feeling of anxiety, stress, even depression, heartbreaks, and heartburn also, had been, sometime experience side thing, because sometimes I experience, oh my God, there is a lot of pressure, from family side, then from my friend side, and from where I work also at the same time, and from the unknown, location uncertainty, they all impose, on me. Sometimes I had to give myself like, oh my God, it seems that there is something on my shoulder because I feel like, oh my God, I feel, something is like trying to push me down, but the worst social pressure is the peer pressure, peer pressure, the people that are living with you, especially, your age mate, or maybe your colleagues, or maybe your workmates. So this is the worst pressure in life because sometimes they can how this smart you. But some social pressure that are from family, sometimes you can manage, to overcome them. But those social pressure, from outside your family, sometimes they're not good. Actually, I remember there was time when I feel like I had to conform like a certain standard, whether to pitch me, in the presence of my friend, just to make sure that I need to fulfill their interest, just, how do I term it? It's like living in the life that even dance to make me happy, but I just trying to pretend myself to be happy, to do something that even I'm not, interesting to do, I myself personally. But with the pressure from my fear, from my friend, from my family, I would just like, to say, okay, just no problem. Let me accept it. Even though I accept it, it will not change me. Just let me do it. But unfortunately, after doing it, after you complete doing that thing, my dear, later on, you can feel the pressure. Just remember like that funny song saying that if the pressure increase or pressure is decreasing, like you can't even imagine, like how that thing is, because public pressure is the worst, most of time, and it can affect your your mental health. To do this, I start trying to practice self-care and prioritizing my personal mental. That is the only thing that you make sure that to set you free from those social pressure. Try to practice self-care. Care about you more than you care other people. I've seen many people they have been, like doing a lot of things, Okay, let me share this funny, story. But I just share it with you because it was like pressure. By then it was not like pressure to me, because I was still young, last 5 years back. I was working somewhere and I remember I was getting like even the salary they are not enough, for me. Can you imagine? Like I work without even eating because they used to give us like those daily wage, Yeah, they call it intensive. They give it to you. Go, and try to buy a line. But because of the public pressure behind there, I just put them inside my pockets and I just go home without even eating. While my workmates they are eating everywhere. When people are, when the time of lunch arrives, I used to pretend myself like busy doing something, or I would just go. I would pretend that I'm okay at all this thing. That is the pressure. So that's where I came to realize that sometimes it is good to start to take care about yourself and prioritize your mental health. Because if you are not taking care about your mental health, then definitely you will end up doing nothing in this life. Trying to set some boundaries, that can set you apart, like it was like stipulated by Aisha. Set some boundaries. You see, this thing you say, this one belongs to me, this one is belong to family, this one belong to my friend. That is how you will, you'll try to learn, to manage to say no when it is needed and to say yes when it is needed. Because sometimes in other culture it is very difficult to say no. Because if you say no, there will be some perception or primitive mindset, from other people. It is very difficult to say no. But learn to say no. Learn to set some boundary for yourself. Make specific time for your activity that make you joy in your life, and allow you to take break without feeling guilty or without experiencing anything. And also try to learn, to speak openly about your feeling. If you have mentors or if you have family or friend, just try to tell them like how you feel. Because sometimes supportive environment can even feel you better, Because sometimes I feel anxious if I have problem, then I tell it to my friend or my family, even though they are not doing anything about it. But I feel okay because if I'm not telling it out, I cannot leave it. Try also to be honest with the family that are living with you or friend. Tell them what you needed. So the support environment is good in this life. It's okay also to say you need help, even though people can say, how can you say you need help and you are good in this? Be honest, just ask for the help, because there is strength in acknowledging when you are feeling overwhelmed, by the situation. Seek support from friends, family, or everywhere, and also sometimes mental health professional, because if there is anything that you will never that I will never manage to prevent in this world is mental health, because you cannot even prevent it. Whether you like it or not, it comes. So try to seek help, from your family or from your friend. And also try to navigate social pressure, try to prioritize your well-being more than other people. Take time for yourself, seek support, do something that you like, do something that you will never regret in your life. This is the only thing that you will overcome social pressure more than anything. I have submitted my submission now.
Wow, so thank you so much. Thank you so much, Latjor, for highlighting all those important tips. So as we navigate these pleasures, important peer pleasures, we should learn how to seek support. You can seek support from your mentors, from everyone that you hope is going to give you a supportive support. And also we should learn how to just practicing self-care. So we have a lot of self-care practices. So be like we encourage you to almost when you feel like you are dealing with your pleasures, so you could learn to just practice self-care so that maybe you can heal for you, maybe it can support you to navigate all those. Thank you so much for highlighting that. Before moving on, so I would like to send you a kind reminder. Please, if you have any questions, for the sake of time, feel free to drop your question in the chat box. Our panelists will respond to your question later. Thank you so much. Moving forward, I have a question for you, Nadia. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, well, so I'm having two questions for you. Maybe I'll ask you one, and after one, we ask you another one after. How can young people recognize when the pressure to conform is starting to negatively impact their mental health?
Yeah, thank you again for this question. And I think for that, I'll go back to something I had mentioned earlier, and the two pieces of a litmus test that you can use to see that some of this conforming is moving into a space of being unhealthy, and that it's starting to negatively impact their mental health. And one is really when you begin to realize that some of these expectations are unrealistic. In unrealistic in the sense of attaining and maintaining. So if you see, for example, something happening on social media, trends on social media around, let's say for young women, like things around weights, maybe for young men or even also young women, like things around having to achieve and have the corner office and everybody has to be a CEO. Yes, there are many people who will end up owning their own businesses, but you don't have to have that to be happy. I think it's the selling of this idea that this is what you need to be happy, which A, is false. I think Latjor mentioned earlier about a lot of misleading messages. And B, it's not realistic for everyone. So I think that litmus test of recognizing when something feels unrealistic is a good way to notice that if you begin to chase an unrealistic goal, it most likely will leave you unhappy. And then the second component there, I think, is the component, again, I mentioned, is the idea of something being misaligned with your values. So let's say, again, there are messages on social media or even from family, from friends that are pulling you in a certain direction of either conforming or kind of rolling into those expectations that just feels just heavily and strongly misaligned with your values as an individual. Most often, if you make decisions that are misaligned with your values, that also brings a lot of internal conflict for the individual. And that impacts mental health in a negative way. So when you realize that some of these expectations, some of these spaces that you feel like you're being pulled into just feel really misaligned with who you are as a person and what you want for your life, then I think that's another space where you can begin to recognize that I think this might not be the best thing for my mental health.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much for highlighting that. I'll never know about more the internal conflicts. Like whenever you realize that something that you are forcing is causing the internal conflict, I'm sure that something is not working and it's affecting your mental health. Thank you so much for highlighting that. I have another question for you. What are some practical strategies or exercise you can recommend to help young people to stay true to themselves, even when they feel pressure to conform?
Yeah, I think thinking about the age of social media, one very obvious thing that comes to mind is just setting parameters around how much social media you consume and contribute to. I think many phones or computers have settings around like how much screen time you spend. And this is an issue, I think, not just for young people, but for really society as a whole, regardless of what stage you're in. You know, it used to be when you go out in public and you're sitting at a restaurant, there are people talking or they're looking outside and they're watching cars go by or watching people walk by. Now everyone's face is in a screen. So I think one very practical way is just limiting how much social media you consume when you understand and recognize that so much of those messages are unrealistic or just not healthy for you. And those settings are on phones, on computers, and other devices. And then the second thing I would say that's coming to mind is rediscovering your hobbies again outside of social media. It feels like now so much of the way that young people engage and find meaning and find connection is on social media. But I would say, I would encourage you to maybe take a step back and think about exploring and rediscovering other pieces and other aspects of your life that you enjoy outside of social media. Do you like going for walks? Do you like painting? Do you like exploring music? What do you like outside of social media? And begin to rediscover yourself again, begin to rediscover your authentic self outside of the social media pressures, outside of the likes and the satisfaction that you get from people liking your post. Who are you when you are by yourself and no one is validating what you're doing or not doing? And so I think engaging so much in social media, both for the person who's putting out the messages and the one who's consuming, it really moves the individual away from authenticity. If you're so used to being in front of a screen and performing, as I had mentioned earlier, being in this performative space so much, I think some of that begins to etch away and begins to really move into hiding your authentic self. I think it can move into a space where it begins to cover your authentic self, and maybe even you, the individual putting out these messages, looking for likes, you begin to forget who you truly are, because now you're living just to get this validation from externalities. So I think taking a step back as a society and really taking a tally as to who we are when the screens are down, when there are no likes that are coming in for validation, what do we enjoy and what do we like doing without someone else's validation or lack of? And so I think for that to happen, there needs to be this step back and there needs to be this rediscovering of our true selves.
Wow, thank you so much. I love something that you said about hiring your authentic self. So we should learn how to hire our true selves. So we should learn how to just discover hobbies, regardless of the social media. Can we just learn to discover new things that we can do, dancing, singing, like all the other things. Thank you so much for sharing with that. We are heading to the end of our events. So I have only for each of your panelists within the 30 seconds. So I want you to share with us, if you could share one piece of advice to the young people who is currently struggling to conform with social pressures and finding a true authenticity. So in one word, what advice can you give her or him? Just anyone can start, just in 30 seconds.
My advice to any young person out there is to remember to be authentic. Authenticity is not a weakness, but it's a strength. So give yourself permission, be yourself, and also learn to live by your values. With this, you'll be satisfied with whatever you have. That is my one advice to every young person who's out there. I
Thank you so
submit.
much. Thank you so much.
Uh,
Latjor,
Yeah, good point has been said by my colleagues, actually, but I would like to paraphrase it. So if I would have to like having to submit one advice to my colleagues, my friends, young leaders who are here today. So it is all of this that I can advise you to do. Try to embrace your uniqueness and don't be afraid to stand out in every situation. Embrace your uniqueness. In this world, everyone is having unique, okay? Be
okay.
unique. Know you're
Uh,
unique, and try to stand out because the pressure can, like sometimes it can conform based on the feeling. But remember, differences, can be very interesting. Each of you has unique history, experience, and talent that can contribute to who you are. So try to pursue your uniqueness and try to learn to stand out, even though no one person is coming to excel you or try, to leverage you from side crucial circumstances. Be who you are. This is my submission. Thank you.
okay. Thank you so much. Can you go to Nadia?
Of course, thank you. So, I think I would say, I think so much about conformity has to do with the desire to be liked, and the desire for a sense of belonging. And that in and of itself is not a bad thing. I think we all as human beings want to be liked. We don't want to be hated. We want to feel a sense of belonging in our communities, in our neighborhoods. And so that's not a bad thing at all. I think where the pause comes in is if you conform and change parts of who you are so that an external group or environment accepts you, then whatever they're accepting is it's not your true self. And in that environment, what I would guess is that individual will actually never feel true belonging, because whatever version of who they are that this group has accepted is actually not truly who they are. This group might not know that, but when you go to bed at night, you know who your true self is. And you know if you've put on a mask for someone to accept you, you see? So I think if you conform to feel a sense of belonging and to have people like you, they're not actually liking you. They're not actually giving you a sense of belonging. They are giving a version of you that you have shown them, right? And when you come home, you know who you truly are. So I think to get that sense of belonging that is innate in all human beings and the desire to be liked, it is better to present your true self and the individuals who accept your true self. Then you can know when you're in front of them or at home by yourself, then you know that this is true acceptance. This is true belonging, because it's not a mask that they're accepting. It's actually who you truly are. And that might be a tougher road because you're not everybody's cup of tea. Not everybody might like your true authentic self, but the people who do, you can be assured that these are the people who truly know you and they truly accept what and who you are.
Okay, so thank you so much, Nadia, for sharing that. We are almost to the end of our event, and I have a question for you. I don't know if you're going to answer it in just 30 seconds. How do you handle the pressure to get from the society, relatives? So they expect after the school you are supposed to have job, and they end up asking everything your parents. So the question is that it is very irritating, especially if they use a phrase like you are the one to support your parents, not your parent boosting your yates. In the religious sense, you are really struggling. So what you should do such? Like the question is, what should you do with such? I don't know if you hear me well. You did?
Ask me, Gisele,
Can you? Yes.
are you asking me or you're asking someone else?
Asking Nadia. This is the
Oh,
question
okay.
for
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if
Okay,
you have
thank you. I didn't quite hear much of it. Can you summarize the question for me again, please, Gisele? You were
So
going in and out.
the question is, so he's asking, how do you handle the pressure you get from the society? Sometimes they expect after school you are supposed to have job, and they end up asking everything. They are supporting you to be done with the school at the time. So sometimes everyone is expecting that we are going to give him something because you have graduated from the school and you are supposed to get the job. So he's asking, how should you go with such in that situation?
I see. So it sounds like the expectation is, okay, you've gone to school, you've graduated, you've gotten a job. You can now support in some financial way, whether it's friends or family, that there's the expectation of financial support in some way. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I will revert back to what my fellow panelists had shared about. I think Latjor and Aisha spoke to this about just being able to communicate where your boundaries lie, where your abilities lie, where your when you're at capacity. Yes, you may have graduated. Yes, you may have gotten a job, but maybe the money you're making isn't enough to give to everyone who asks for financial support. I think it's okay to communicate that. I think it's okay to clearly communicate. I would love to help. I would love to help you in this way, but I'm just not in a position to do that. This is where my capacities lie. So I think part of managing pressure and expectation is being comfortable and being able to clearly communicate where your limitations are, and that's not a thing to be ashamed of, because no one could be expected to meet all the expectations that are put on them. No one can be expected to say yes to everything. So I think part of that is getting comfortable with the idea of directly communicating where your limitations are.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you so much for answering the question. I hope have been answered. So we're almost closing our event. I would love to appreciate you. Thank you so much, dear panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. So we're really glad to have you. And a big appreciation to the audience. Thank you so much for being very engaging in our event. Thank you so much for just sharing the comments and even asking the questions. So it was really honored to have you. Thank you so much. We can close up now. So bye to everyone. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Gisele.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and being part of this conversation. I'll end the call.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gisele. We say Georgiza.
Bye, good night.
Happy Georgiza in Kigali.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we say
someone
in
is asking-
Kigali? Gisele, you want to say Muramuche?
Yeah.
I think that's what you say. Good night.
Oh,
Muramuche.
oh yeah. Oh my God. That's what I mean. I mixed up. So Georgiza mean it is like is it like good night?
That's what I have learned. I don't, Gisele, you can check my knowledge.
Yeah, good night.
Okay.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
How do you say good night in Rwanda? Just say it.
Muramuke.
Huh?
Muramuke. This is Muramuke. Yes.
Okay. Maramoshe. It's almost to say Ngaramose. Maramose.
Good morning.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It is great to meet you today. Thank you, my fellow.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Appreciate it.
Bye. Take care.
Beyond the skies, you and